Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashta Prayesu Abhadreshu Nityang Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, 10th chapter. Hare Krishna. Tata Suranam Asurai Ranam Ranah Paramadarunaha Treta Mukhe Narmadayam Abhavat Prathame Yuge Tatah Suranam Asurai Rana Paramadarunaha Treta Mukhe Narmadayam Abhavat Prathame Yuge Tatah Suranam Asurai Rana Paramadarunaha Treta Mukhe Narmadayam Abhavat Prathame Yuge. Tatha Suranam Asurai Naranaha Mataji's. Tata Suranam Asurai Tataha thereafter Suranam of the demigods, Asurahi with the demons, Ranaha a great battle, Paramadarunaha very fearful, Treta Mukhe in the beginning of Treta Yuga, Narmadayam on the bank of the river Narmada, Abhavat took place, Prathame in the first Yuge millennium. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Love Prabhupada. Thereafter, at the end of Satya Yuga and the beginning of Treta Yuga, a fierce battle took place between the demigods and the demons on the bank of the Narmada. Kindly repeat. Thereafter, at the end of Satya Yuga and the beginning of Treta Yuga, a fierce battle took place between the demigods and the demons on the bank of the Narmada. Purport. Herein, the Narmada does not mean the Narmada river in India, The 5 sacred rivers in India, Ganga, Yamuna, Narmada, Kaveri and Krishna, are all celestial. Like the Ganges river, the Narmada river also flows in the higher planetary systems. The battle between the demigods and the demons took place in the higher planets. The words Prathame Yuge mean in the beginning of the first millennium, that is to say, in the beginning of the Vaivasvata Manvantar. In one day of Brahma, there are 14 Manus, and each live for 71 millenniums. The 4 Yugas, Satya Yuga, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali, constitute 1 millennium. We are presently in the Manvantara of the Vaivasvata Manu, who is mentioned in Bhagavad-Gita. Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavan Aham Avyayam Vivaswan Manave Praha. We are now in the 28th millennium of Vaivasvata Manu, but this fight took place in the beginning of Vaivasvata Manu's first millennium. One can historically calculate how long ago this battle took place. Since each millennium consists of 4.3 million years, and now we are in the 28th millennium, some 120 million years have passed since the battle took place on the bank of the river Narmada. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Vevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So all the senior Vaishnavas, Devi Shakti Mataji and so many seniors are present here. Please bless, I can speak something. Actually, I got to know about this class quite late yesterday, so I have not prepared much, but still I'll try to serve. So this wonderful episode is going on in Srimad Bhagavatam, and incidentally this is also one of my favorite pastimes of Srimad Bhagavatam, the pastime of Dhritarashtra. And it's such a wonderful episode. Actually, the chapters to come, we'll hear more in the days to come. So Prabhupada, in the next chapter is the transcendental qualities of Dhritarashtra, and the chapter after that is Dhritarashtra's glorious death. So it's a very, very beautiful section of Srimad Bhagavatam. Actually, Srimad Bhagavatam is full of nectar. Every canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, every episode of Bhagavatam. But still, as we are individual devotees, we like particular sections. So this happens to be one of my favorite sections of Bhagavatam, because Dhritarashtra, he portrays the mood of a devotee, right? Even though he was in the body of a demon, right? But still he is one of the greatest devotees in Srimad Bhagavatam. Right? His mood is very, very exalted, as you will see in his prayers later when he prays in the battlefield. So here in today's verse, we are the story is just beginning, right? So till yesterday we heard about Dadichi Muni's pastime, right? So how the great sacrifice of Dadichi Muni, right? We all heard so many classes earlier. that what a great sacrifice he has done, right? Giving up his own body for higher purpose. Because here the Supreme Lord himself ordered the demigods to approach Dadichi Muni. So therefore Dadichi Muni unhesitatingly, immediately gave up his body. Right? So what a great example. And even now in India, many people, they use the example of Dadichi Muni, even in some political parties or some other things, they use this example that such a great person that he sacrificed his body for a higher purpose. So we also have some freedom fighters and many people, they sacrifice the body. But that is not the highest purpose. The highest purpose for which we can sacrifice our body is for the purpose of, Prabhupada explains, for spreading Krishna consciousness, for doing highest welfare to people. And we have so many glorious examples of Srila Prabhupada himself and his wonderful disciples, and so many great devotees in our movement who have actually sacrificed the entire body for higher purpose. Right? So, they really, many such wonderful Vaishnavas, without any consideration for their bodily comfort, they sacrifice their health, everything just for the sake of helping Srila Prabhupada in spreading this Krishna conscious movement, for doing highest welfare to others. Because otherwise, there is no meaning to life, right? We heard in the previous verses that how this body is anyway temporary. Anyway, the body has to die. Right? So unless we do something valuable with the body, what is the use of this body? Right? So there is a very simple logic that anyway we have to die, right? It's not that we can continue with this body forever. So therefore, the best use of this body is to use it for a higher purpose. Right? Use it in Krishna's service. Use it in the service of others, and the highest service for others is to bring them to Krishna consciousness. And also I thought of discussing a little bit about death as such, because here we just saw that how Dadichi Muni died, and also here the entire episode is how Vritrasur also died, right? So death is anyway, it's for everybody, for all animals, plants, human beings. But the important thing is that how we die, in what consciousness one dies. That is the most important thing. So actually speaking, this body is what? This body is already dead, yes or no? You all agree? The body is anyway dead. And the spirit soul is always eternal. It cannot die. We heard in Bhagavad-Gita, 2nd chapter, Na hanyate hanyamane sharire, that the soul cannot be cut into pieces, the soul cannot be moistened, the soul cannot be burnt. So then who actually dies? Actually nobody dies. Death is just illusion. The body is already dead. It's a very important point. I heard very nicely a relation of a devotee who was explaining this, that how body is already dead. It's just the soul which makes the body alive. And the soul is always eternal. There is no death for the soul. So death is simply an illusion. Nothing else. But it's a painful illusion, especially for people in general. Those who don't understand the higher philosophy, which we have been blessed to understand by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and Vaishnavas, is actually a very, very painful experience. And I have seen a couple of cases of general people in this world, how they quit their body. I've seen my grandfather on the deathbed. It's actually very scary because they're attached to this body so much. Then they know that they'll quit this body soon, and it's very, very fearful. Prabhupada also mentions that once a big businessman, he was dying and he told the doctor that I'll pay you millions of rupees. Just can you extend my life for a few more days? I have some things remaining to do. But can the doctor do it? No. Nobody can do it, right? If that was the case, then great, the richest people in this world would not have died. But they die or not? Yes, they die. So, it's actually a very, very painful experience for people in general. We know, I think, there's some Puranas, it is mentioned that how many scorpions? Some 88,000 scorpions, or there's some number? 80,000. Yeah, so one scorpion itself is enough for us, right? I didn't have any experience of scorpion bite. Anyone if you had experience? But I've seen one or two people being bit by scorpion. Jai Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai. Shri Krishna Balram ki jai. Shri Radha Shyam Sundar ki jai. So I have seen some people being bit by a scorpion. It's actually they cry in pain, right? When somebody is bit by a scorpion, it's very, very painful. So imagine 80,000 scorpions. We just can't imagine the amount of pain that one has to go through when we leave this body. And we all have to face that one day, right? But unfortunately, we never think about it. While preaching, we always quote this verse of Yudhishthir Maharaj, that what is the most amazing thing in this world? Ahaniyani bhutani gachanti yamalayam shesha sthavaram ichhami atah kim ashcharya param. That the greatest amazing thing in this world, or the greatest astonishment in this world, is that every day we are seeing people dying, but we think we will not die. So we use it enough for preaching, for telling others, but we as devotees, we also never think about it. Right? Especially I always think I'll be eternal. Right? Never we think about death. But actually we should think sometimes about this important phenomena, because this life is a preparation for death. Prabhupada says many times, like final exam. Ante Narayana Smriti. So we have to think about it, that one day we all have to pass through that examination. And the most difficult aspect of this examination is what? It's unannounced exam, right? In school and colleges we have two kinds of exams or quizzes. One is announced, one is unannounced. So the worst part about death is it's a unannounced exam, unannounced quiz. It can come anytime, we don't know about it. So we have to prepare at every moment actually, strictly speaking, for this unannounced, most important exam of our life. So it requires a lifetime of preparation, right? It's a lifestyle that actually Bhagavad-Gita, Srila Prabhupada explains very nicely this topic. In Introduction to Bhagavad-Gita also, he explains about this, that how one should prepare oneself. I'll just read maybe one or two lines from here. Actually, Introduction to Bhagavad-Gita is very, very special. Srila Prabhupada summarizes the entire philosophy and the entire lifestyle, that how a devotee should live, what is the entire philosophy in this Srimad Bhagavad-Gita. Right. So Prabhupada quotes the two famous verses in 8th chapter. What are they? About death. Antakalecha mam eva smaran muktva kalevaram yah prayati samadbhavam yati nastiratra samshaya. That whoever at the end of his life quits his body remembering me alone at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. And then he quotes the another special verse in the same chapter. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tajantya kalevaram tam tam evati konteya sada tad bhava bhavita. Whatever state of being one remembers, when he quits his present body, in the next life he will attain to that state without fail. Right. And there is one more verse in the same chapter which Prabhupada quotes. Tatsmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhasya mai arpito manobuddhir mam evashyasi ashamsaya. So here we all have heard this, that how whatever we think at the moment of death will determine our next life. So we have to think of Krishna. If we think of Krishna, then we'll go back to Krishna. If we don't think of Krishna, there are so many options. We may go to higher planets, we may go to lower planets, we may continue in this earthly planet. There are so many options. Like imagine a big superstore with so many garments, right? So that millions of varieties of garments. So this is just, dress is, our body is just like a garment, right? Krishna says, Vasansi jinnani yatha viha. It's like a garment. So we have millions of garments which we can accept. But that depends on, just like if you go to any superstore, you need to have that purchasing power to buy that garment, or you need to have that, you need to like that garment. So similarly, it's not that we can get anybody what we like. Then we all will think of going to heavenly planets or whatever we may desire. People may desire, but no. We need to have karma also accordingly. Right? That is our purchasing power. If we don't have proper karma, we will not get the body that we want. But of course, as devotees, are we interested in any body in this material world? No. We all know that any body in this material world is temporary. Again, we have to die. Again, we have to take another body. So, the intelligent man, he'll always think of accepting eternal body. And for that, we need to prepare. Right? Prabhupada explains very nicely that although we are working in this world, right, we have so many responsibilities, So along with all that, we have to practice to remember Krishna. I'll just read this very important line. The Lord therefore tells Arjuna that he need not give up his occupation, but while he is engaged in his occupation, he should remember Krishna. Okay? While we are engaged in occupation, we must remember Krishna. Mam Anusmara. If he doesn't practice remembering Krishna while he is struggling for existence, then it will not be possible for him to remember Krishna at the time of death. Lord Chaitanya also advises this. He says, Kirtanya Sadahari. One should practice chanting the names of the Lord always. The names of the Lord and the Lord are non-different. So Lord Krishna's instructions to Arjuna to remember me and Lord Chaitanya's injunction to always chant the names of Lord Krishna are the same instruction. There is no difference because Krishna and Krishna's name are non-different. In the absolute status, there is no difference between reference and referent. Therefore, we have to practice remembering the Lord always, 24 hours a day, by chanting His names and molding our life's activities in such a way that we can remember Him always. Very, very profound statement, Srila Prabhupada. I'll read once again. Therefore, we have to practice remembering the Lord always, 24 hours a day, by chanting His names and molding our life's activities in such a way that we can remember Him always. Very, very strong statement by Srila Prabhupada. So we have to try for this. Right? It's not, may not happen in 1 day, 1 year, 10 years, but at least we must keep trying. We must understand that this is our goal. That we have to come to this stage where we are always thinking of Krishna by chanting His names, by engaging in different services. So whatever we may do, our consciousness should be fixed on Krishna. It's very easy to say, but very difficult to do that. But nonetheless, we must try to do that. Right? Every day in our life, we must think about it, that am I advancing in this ultimate goal of always thinking of Krishna? Right? So we have to follow all rules, regulations. Why we have to follow rules, regulations? Because they help us to be pure, in a pure state of mind, so that we can try to at least think of Krishna. Right? And how is that possible? So Prabhupada says, the famous example, that the example of a woman who has another lover, right? A woman who has a paramour or another lover, so she does all her household responsibilities very nicely, so that the husband will not doubt her. But she is always thinking of her lover in her mind. So this is a very, very famous example. In fact, this was quoted by Mahaprabhu to Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. You know the story? That how Rupa and Sanatan, they were Dabir Khash and Shakar Malik. They were Prime Minister and Finance Minister in the kingdom of Nawab Hussain Shah. And of course, they were Nitya Siddhas, they were great devotees. But just as a lesson, they were in this awkward position in the Muslim government. And internally, of course, they were great devotees. They made their house into Vrindavan. They had nice kunds. Anyone of you have been to Ramkeli? I have never been there. And Sarang Thakur Prabhu must have been there, Ramkeli. I still heard that there are there's Radhakund, Shyamkund, the place where Rupa and Sanatan Goswami they used to stay. So they always wanted to leave their kingdom and join the service of Mahaprabhu. So they wrote many letters to Mahaprabhu that we want to give this up and join your service. So Mahaprabhu just sent one reply, and that reply just contained this example, which Prabhupada is quoting here. That just as a married woman who has another lover, she always thinks of that lover. That's just like that. That was the only example. So we may think that why Acharya is giving this example? Looks very mundane. But actually it's a very nice example. That means externally, Mahaprabhu advised that you continue with your position as ministers, but internally you always think about Krishna. So this is actually the secret of devotional service. And this is possible only in the path of bhakti. In other process, you have to give up everything. Right? You have to give up in path of yoga or something. You have to give up everything. That's the first requirement. And go to Himalayas or go to some secluded place. But in the process of bhakti, you can be at your own position, whatever you are doing. Right? Sthane sita shrutikatam tanubhan manobhir. But we have to just hear Krishna Katha and think about Krishna internally. And that is what Mahaprabhu advised Rupa and Sanatan. And ultimately, of course, Mahaprabhu came to Ramkeli and he gave mercy to them, and both they left the government service and joined Mahaprabhu full time. But the important lesson we must take from here is that this is a very, very important principle in our devotional service, that internally we must always try to remember Krishna, chant Hare Krishna, and externally we may have many responsibilities. So some of the devotees who are working in the outside world, they have their jobs, business, and some of us, we are having full-time service in the movement. But we also have so many other responsibilities, duties, right, in our preaching mission. So we have to do all that very nicely, because that is also direct service to Krishna. But along with that, always we have to internally also try to remember Krishna directly by chanting his names, by hearing Krishna's pastimes, by remembering his transcendental form. So this practice we must always do, right? And Prabhupada is saying a strong sense of love is required here for doing in this way, right? For example, Prabhupada is saying Arjuna, he was always thinking of Krishna. He was a constant companion of Krishna, and at the same time he was a warrior. Krishna did not advise him to give up fighting and to go to the forest to meditate. Right? So this is a very important instruction that we find in Bhagavad-Gita, that how while doing our worldly duties also, we must try to remember Krishna. And if we do that, then for sure, gradually our consciousness will be molded in such a way that we can also face our final exam of death. And there are so many examples in Srimad Bhagavatam, how great devotees, they have faced this death. Right? So as I was telling, that death is a very, very painful experience. So for a devotee also, is death very painful? Externally, yes, it may look like. We hear that so many devotees, they have cancer in their end. But internally, it's not painful for them. Right? Prabhupada gives that wonderful example of cat. Right? The same cat, when it is catching the rat, for the rat, it's a very, very frightening experience, right? But the same cat, when it holds its baby, kitten, we call it kitten, cat's baby. So when a cat keeps the kitten in her mouth, does the kitten feel afraid? No. She feels comfort. She feels very happy in the mouth of the cat. Such a nice example. So death externally is the same cat's mouth. But there is a great difference. For a non-devotee, it's such a frightening experience. But for a devotee, it's a wonderful experience. He's in bliss, just like Vritrasur will hear. He's telling, "Oh Indra, you please fight," because Indra got afraid. He got bewildered by looking at the strength of Vritrasur. His thunderbolt fell from his hand. But Vritrasur is telling Indra, "Pick up the thunderbolt and fight. Kill me, I want to die. Because I want to go back to home, back to Godhead. I want to associate with my Lord again." So many wonderful examples we have in Bhagavatam, that how devotees, they welcome death. Right? For them, death is a wonderful opportunity to associate with Krishna. And so you may think, well, if you are not qualified enough to go back to home, back to Godhead, well, we should not worry about that. Because as devotees, Mahaprabhu has taught us, "Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagadisha kame, mama janmani janmanishware, bhavatat bhaktir ahitiguitvai." So we should not worry so much that whether I'll go back to home, back to Godhead or not. That's up to Krishna, right? We must just try to serve Krishna throughout our life, try to please him. And it's up to Krishna. If he gives us another birth in this world, so be it. But this guarantee we have, that if we serve Krishna throughout our life, then Krishna will make sure that we're in some conducive position in which we can continue our service. Maybe we take birth in the family of devotees, or we again have a chance to associate with devotees. So that must be our prayer to Krishna. As Bhaktivinoda Thakur prays, that Kita Janma Ho Yatha Tua Das. That, "Oh Lord, it's up to you. If you don't want me to take back to Godhead, then it's okay. Even if you want me to take birth as an insect, make sure, please, oh my Lord, this is my request, that give me association of devotees. Let me be like Haridas Thakur prays in Chaitanya Bhagavat, during Mahaprakash Leela, he prays to Mahaprabhu that make me a dog outside the house of a Vaishnava, so that I can have remnants of devotees. And you know what? After this, Haridas Thakur is actually repenting. He's saying, "Oh Lord, this is a very high benediction. I don't deserve to ask such a great benediction." Imagine somebody like Haridas Thakur, who is chanting 3 lakh names of Krishna every day. He is asking for this benediction to Lord, that make me a dog outside the house of a devotee. And just after saying that, he feels very embarrassed. He's saying, oh Lord, this is such a high position. I'm very sorry I asked you for this. So of course, these are very, very exalted states of consciousness. But we should hear about it. And slowly, slowly we'll also, one day, maybe we can come to this stage. In the end of Srimad Bhagavatam, in 12th canto, when Shukdev Maharaj, he completes speaking to Parikshit Maharaj. So actually, Shukdev Maharaj ends Srimad Bhagavatam with this note only. He actually tells Parikshit Maharaj that actually he speaks about the same thing, that how death is illusory, right? So don't worry about death. And I'll read maybe a few texts from that. It's 12th chapter, 12th canto, chapter 5. Shukdev Goswami's final instruction to Maharaj Parikshit. And actually it's a very, very small chapter. I don't know, maybe it's the smallest chapter of Bhagavatam. This is only 13 verses. I was surprised today I was reading. Only 13 verses, this chapter of Bhagavatam. But very, very profound, right? The last instruction of Shukdev Maharaj to Parikshit Maharaj. Yes. So, so he begins like this. O king, give up the animalistic mentality of thinking I am going to die. Give up this animalistic mentality of thinking I am going to die. Unlike the body, you have not taken birth. There was not a time in the past when you did not exist, and you are not about to be destroyed. So such a strong statement. He's saying that means those who think I will die, they are animals. That's animal consciousness. You see in this, you must have seen any animal. Animal is very afraid, always fearful. Why? You're always thinking maybe somebody will come and kill me. Okay? Always see anybody, any animal is very, very fearful. Unfortunately, in today's world, human beings are also fearful in that way. I may lose my job, something may happen, I may die. So this element of fear is also there in human society. And actually this is the animalistic quality. Animals are afraid of death. Animals are always fearful. But a human being, he should not be fearful. Right? And of course, I'm just saying this, but it's for me also, even if I just get afraid very quickly. Because that is, we must understand, it's a very low state of consciousness. A pure devotee or exalted devotee is always fearless. Right? See Srila Prabhupada's example, how fearless he was. And so many other great devotees' life, you can see they're always very fearless. Why? Because they have faith on Krishna, that Krishna is the ultimate protector, and also because they're detached from this body. Fear is because of attachment. Because I'm attached to something, I have the fear of losing it, right? Like somebody has a lot of money, he's always fearful. Because he's fearful, I may lose that money. Or somebody has a big position, he's always fearful of losing the position. In Srimad Bhagavatam, so many times we see that how Indra is always afraid. Why? Because he's afraid of losing his position. So the moment we attach to something, we are afraid of losing it. So ultimately we are so much attached to this body, therefore we are very afraid of losing this body. Therefore always fearful of death. But devotees or transcendentalists, even yogis, who are exalted in their consciousness, they are not afraid of death because they are not attached to this body. They are detached from the body. So it doesn't matter to them if the body is taken away. So that is what Shukdev Maharaj is saying, Parikshit. You are entirely distinct from material body and its paraphernalia in the same way that the fire is distinct from its fuel. Right? In the dream, one can see his own head being cut off and thus understand that his actual self is standing apart from the dream experience. Similarly, while awake, one can see that his body is the product of the 5 material elements. Therefore, it is to be understood that the actual self, the soul, is distinct from the body it observes and is unborn and immortal. Very deep philosophy. At how sometimes in the dream we see that our head is being cut off. Right? But actually we are seeing that. That means we are distinct from the dream. Right? So similarly, it's just saying that similarly we are seeing our body, that means we are distinct from the body. So body is just something separate from us. And actually, Just like we see in dreams, if you have a bad dream, so temporarily we are little fearful or we are sad, but as soon as we wake up, are we still crumbling over the dream? No, we just get over. Oh, it was just a dream. So similarly, death is also like, we can say, like a bigger dream, right? So, or this entire body is like a dream. So when we die, we just forget it. Oh, this was maybe another life, and then we go on with another life. So life after life, this is how we have been going on in this material world. But the purpose of life is to end this by thinking of Krishna at the time of death, by preparing ourselves for death. There's so many wonderful examples. And here, so Shukdev Maharaj continues his final instructions to Parikshit Maharaj. Right? I just read one more verse. And then he says, "My dear king, by constantly meditating upon the Supreme Lord, Vasudev, and by applying clear and logical intelligence, you should carefully consider how your true self and how it is situated within the material body. The snake bird Takshak," that snake which was supposed to come and bite Maharaj Parikshit, "sent by the curse of the Brahmana, will not burn your true self. The agents of death will never burn such a master of the self as you, for you have already conquered all dangers on your path back to Godhead." So these are the final instructions of Shukdev Maharaj. And the last verse spoken by Shukdev Maharaj is very interesting. Just like Krishna in the end, after speaking entire Bhagavad-Gita, what does he say to Arjuna? That, "Oh Arjuna, I hope all your doubts are now over, or should I explain you again if you want?" Something like that. So similarly, Shukdev Maharaj is saying, "Beloved King Parikshit, I have narrated to you the topics you originally inquired about. The pastimes of Lord Hari, the supreme soul of the universe. Now, what more do you wish to hear?" So he's saying, I have narrated everything, all the pastimes of Lord Hari. Right? So after 7 days in the end, final day, Shukdev Maharaj is asking, "Do you want to hear anything else?" And the next chapter, then Parikshit Maharaj, he replies, he says that, "I am very, very grateful to you." Parikshit Maharaj says, "I have now achieved the purpose of my life because a great and merciful soul like you has shown such kindness to me. You have personally spoken to me this narration of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, who is without beginning or end." He really, he's very grateful to Shukdev Maharaj for speaking Bhagavatam. And then he says, "My Lord, I now have no fear of Takshak or any other living being or even of repeated deaths, because I have absorbed myself in that purely spiritual absolute truth which you have revealed and which destroys all fear. O Brahmana, please give me permission to resign my speech and the functions of all my senses onto Lord Adhokshaja. Allow me to absorb my mind, purified of lusty desires, within him, and thus to give up my life." So this is a final statement. So Parikshit Maharaj is saying, "Thank you very much for speaking about pastimes of Lord Krishna, this message of absolute truth. Now I am not afraid of Takshak. What to speak of Takshak? Let anybody come. I am no more afraid. I am no more afraid of repeated deaths, because I know this transcendental knowledge. And now I want to, please allow me to absorb myself completely in the thoughts of Krishna, Adhokshaja." So this is such a glorious example we are seeing, that finally we all, maybe one day, will also come to this platform. Right? And there are so many wonderful other examples. We know Bhishma Dev's example in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, that he also, in the end, very beautiful pastime in Bhagavatam, that Bhishma Dev, such a great personality, right? He was so learned, he was such a great warrior. Even on the deathbed, once again, if you are pricked by a small pin, we feel so disturbed, right? The small thorn. Imagine Bhishma Dev was lying on a bed of arrows. Just lying on a bed of arrows. Imagine externally how painful must be his condition. But at that stage also, he gave advice to Yudhishthir. Right? Because Yudhishthir Maharaj was very much disturbed after the battle of Mahabharata. He was thinking, because of me, so many millions and millions of soldiers were killed, so many women have become widows just because of me, just because I wanted this kingdom. So he was very, very remorseful. And that time Krishna pacified him, but even Krishna could not pacify because Krishna wanted to glorify Bhishma Dev. So then Krishna took him to Bhishma Dev, and then Bhishma Dev instructed him for many days on various topics, how to rule the kingdom properly, what is the dharma of a king, and so many wonderful economy and wonderful topics. He was giving instruction, and in the end, finally Bhishma Dev says that enough. Now I just want to focus on you, my Lord. I want to have darshan of you, and I want to give up my body. And he gave up his body. Such a glorious death of Bhishma Dev. And then, what are the examples in Bhagavatam? So many examples that how devotees they had glorious death. Dhruv Maharaj, another wonderful example. He didn't even give up this material body. The same body he went back to Godhead. He stepped on the head of death, it is said, Bhagavatam. Why? Because of his devotional service. So yes, by devotional service, only we can conquer over death, which is so insurmountable. Actually, as devotees, we don't really want to conquer over death. It's Krishna's business, right? We just have to render service to Krishna. And we know Krishna will take care. What is death in front of Krishna, right? As Haridas Thakur, in the end, that was his aspiration. He prays to Lord Chaitanya that, you please, I want to give up my body in front of you. And such a wonderful way he gave up his body by chanting the names of Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Shri Krishna Chaitanya. And by chanting Lord Chaitanya's name, by having darshan of Lord Chaitanya's wonderful form, Haridas Thakur, he quit his body. So we all similarly can have at least this aspiration that, oh Lord, kindly you also make me remember you at the time of death. Because on our own it's very difficult, right? We don't know how we'll die, in what form we'll die. But we can pray to Lord that, Lord, you please make me remember you. And actually we don't have to worry so much. If we serve Krishna throughout our life, we are sure Krishna will take care of us. Right? So throughout our life we must continue following the principles given by Srila Prabhupada, try to serve Krishna, try to please Krishna, and chant his holy names. Right? Prabhupada says so many times. Because chanting, we have to continuously practice chanting his holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And if we can do that, surely at the time of death we can also remember Krishna. Hare Krishna.